Hello everyone and welcome to today's Adult Wellness Webinar, Shiatsu Basics, Move Your Chi. I'm Sylvia DeSantis. I am the Director of the Graduate Criminal Justice and Public Safety Programs here at St. Joe's, and I'm also the owner of Seven Sacred Breaths Integrative Healing in Ardmore. And what I do there is I help individuals who are interested in taking back control of their healing do so with a variety of modalities and different energy work techniques. So we're going to be going over one of those techniques today, which is Shiatsu. There's lots of energy work out there. A few years ago, you probably wouldn't have heard of any of these modalities. They were considered outliers, not really part of the medical tradition, sort of unknown, as it were. But nowadays, a lot of these have gained some traction in popular culture. Dr. Oz has talked about Reiki, which was a huge boon for the Reiki community because somebody who was in traditional allopathic medicine actually picked up this modality and started using it in his own operating rooms. He does open heart surgery. Reflexology is something you'll find lots of different massage therapists actually incorporate into their own massage protocols nowadays. It's focusing on specific points in the hands and feet and face. Flower essences is something that's gaining some traction as well. It's the use of the energetics of flowers. It's something that you take internally. Zero balancing is a bone-oriented energy modality. Again, something that you would find offered by massage therapists nowadays, as well as craniosacral therapy as well. It's something that involves different positions on the body, different locks that sort of release toxins and help the body come back into balance. So whereas before all of this would have been very mysterious, associated with quackery, nowadays it's really sort of gaining some popularity and actually gaining some language in popular culture, which is a nice thing because it really lets people kind of come to a different place with their own healing. We're going to focus on Shiatsu today. There are so many different pieces to Shiatsu, and this is just, of course, an hour. My Shiatsu training was probably about 100 hours. When I train massage therapists to do Shiatsu, the shortest training we do is a 2-day, all-day. So that's about almost 20 hours. So just keep in mind you're getting a very, very shortened, kind of short and sweet version of just a few things you can do to kind of take control of your health, your own health, and help feel better. It is known as needleless acupuncture because it does work on meridians on the body, and it works through very, very gentle but consistent pressure points on the body, the same way that you would if you've gone to an acupuncture appointment, you've experienced needles in specific meridians on the body. Shiatsu is basically the same thing. It is Japanese in origin, but a lot of it relies on the foundations of traditional Chinese medicine, and so that's the space from which you would do a session. It also predates acupuncture. It's millennia old. I've had people ask me if it's something kind of new. Is this a new thing? You know, all you New Agers came up with, no, it's really, really, really old. It's something that emperors were using many millennia ago. And the premise of Shiatsu is that it brings the body into balance. It helps wake up the chi. And for those who are overactive in certain ways, it helps calm down the chi as well. So it does a number of different things. It works holistically, which means it works on the whole body. So while it may address symptoms here and there, it actually is trying to address the root of the issue as well, which is something that Western medicine sort of tends not to do. Western medicine tends to focus much more specifically on symptoms. So, chi is another word that a few years ago people wouldn't have known about. It's also gained some popularity in popular culture as well. And chi is actually the interaction of yin and yang, which is something else you probably have heard of since that's not too unknown, to us these days. But this is just very, very boiled down. Consider yin and yang two energetic ends of the spectrum. You have yin on one side, yang on the other. You bring them together in the middle. You look for balance. And that ball of energy, that balanced ball of energy, is the chi that then influences our bodies and sort of makes us what we are. Chi is what runs us. It's the gas in the motor, so to speak. And you can see from this quote, it's It's not something new. It's something that different philosophers have been sort of knocking around for many, many, many years, trying to figure out the place from which the human body operates. We know nowadays, if we go into the hospital and we get an angiogram or something related to electronics, that actually doctors can measure the electrical impulses in our body. And Shiatsu is basically relying on that same information. We are manipulating and working with those same electrical impulses in the body as well, just in slightly different ways. Qi really, the idea that we want to focus on Qi is vital because Qi is our vital life force. It's what helps us get up in the morning. It's what helps us peacefully go to bed at night. It basically helps us operate. It's our essence, and it's sort of what keeps us going, makes us go, so to speak. So when we work on the Qi, we necessarily wake up different energy centers in the body. Excuse me. So Shiatsu relies on the premise that we have energy channels. There are a number of other channels, but there are 12 primary channels, and they run up the body and down the body. So the yin channels run up the front of the body, and the yang channels run down the back of the body. And what we do in Shiatsu is that we wake up, we engage, and we help to sort of remanipulate some of those channels in different ways by using very specific, focused touch through the course of a protocol. So in other words, if I was going to work on someone and I would determine maybe what was troubling them, how they were feeling, if they needed something that needed to be addressed, I wouldn't just go and work on one point. I would do a protocol that involves the front meridians of the body and also the back meridians of the body. So I would work all of those points just to be sure it's not only a balanced session, but everything in the body is getting addressed at once. So it's not a matter of just going in and saying, okay, I'm going to sort of squeeze your ear and you're going to feel better. It's something that you sort of want to integrate. So if you were going for a session, it would be more than just the points we're going to look at today. But I do want to also tell you that the points we're going to look at today can be used as one-offs. They are great ways to not have to pop an aspirin every time you have a headache. They're a great way to not have to spritz your throat with some kind of, I don't want to say any brand names, but they're a great way to not have to spritz your throat when you have a bothersome sore throat with chemicals and pharmaceuticals that often have a lot of high fructose corn syrup in them. It's just a nice way that you can sort of address some of the simpler ills you're having, like insomnia, that kind of thing, without having to ingest so much pharmaceutical. So working these channels presents amazing results. I've seen it. I've used it myself many, many years ago when I first got involved in energy work. I was a patient. That's how I ended up becoming a practitioner. So I know it's sometimes hard to believe that something so non-invasive can be so powerful. That's really part of the beauty of it. Shiatsu is great for a variety of situations. I have clients who come to me with everything from full-blown post-traumatic stress disorder to situational panic attacks to depression to folks who are perfectly fine and healthy, pretty much in all ways. They're physically healthy, their blood work is fine, maybe they're short on a couple vitamins, but they're feeling the effects of stress, and it's so deleterious to their everyday life. It's knocking them out. They can't sleep right. They feel like they're eating well, they're exercising, but they still can't sleep. They don't feel right. They're achy. Things are just a little bit off. Pretty much every end of the spectrum is something that can be addressed with Shiatsu and with other energy work modalities as well. So since we have some limited time today, we're going to hit four basically body challenges. These are 4 things that most of my clients present with, so they're 4 sort of easier things to present that I think more people would get benefit from than, say, going through, a different protocol that looks at other things. So we're going to look at sinuses. I'm not sure I know one person who doesn't suffer from some sort of sinus issue. Either they're having allergies this time in the spring, or they're suffering from colds in the winter, or they're revving up to feel bad in the winter, in the fall, because all the leaves are falling. It's something that really sort of hits everyone in different ways. Stomach issues, also very common, especially when we get stressed. I can't tell you how many people come in with stomach complaints, and it's really not because they have an ulcer, it's because they're suffering the effects of stress and maybe they're having trouble with digestion, whatever. So we're going to look at some stomach things. We're going to look at stress overall, just some general relaxation points that help folks calm down and take a breath. I also have worked with a few students, both at this school and at other schools, and I had a professor come to me one time and say, I've got these 3 young ladies in my class, and before all the tests, they're like pressing all over their hands and wrists, and your name came up. What are they doing? And I said, oh, they're using some relaxation techniques. I taught them those are actually Shiatsu points, but it's quiet, it's non-invasive, you don't have to like get up and chant. They were just sitting at their desks doing some really subtle handwork, and the professor, of course, noticed. And she was like, that's great, that's great. It's great because they're calming down. These are kids, undergraduates, who had a lot of test anxiety. And it just helped them calm down before they picked up their pen and started their test, which I thought was so funny. The teacher kind of noticed. And we're going to look at sleep, because it seems like everybody's having insomnia these days in one way or another. So that's a good thing to take a peek at. So let's start with sinus and throat. So if you've got any kind of sinus pressure, I know on rainy days like today, I feel like someone is sort of pressing behind my eyes and kind of pressing them out. It's a very, very uncomfortable feeling when I move my eyes around. You can kind of feel the sinus pressure kind of moving around along with the weather pressure outside. If you have frontal migraines, which means if you have migraines that tend to sit up here, up in the forehead area, or if you have any kind of sinus pain that tends to sit under here, these are all very good points for that. I will say if you suffer from migraines in the back of your head, because migraines are very, very quadrant oriented, you want to use some different techniques, and that's something that I would be happy to talk about with anyone later. But these are specifically for sinus issues that are troubling the front of your face. So the first position is bladder 2. Now I'm going to tell you what the points are just because I feel like you should know what they are. You're not studying this, you're just getting some tips today. So what's more important is for you to sort of think about where you're putting your hand rather than trying to necessarily remember what the point is. Again, if that's something you want to learn, we can talk about that later or teach workshops, that's fine. But for today's purposes, just sort of think about the careful placement of your hands on your face and body. So bladder 2 is the hook right under the eyebrows, right inside, medial side of the eyes in the corner, and you just want to do a little bit of a press and a little bit of an up, and you want to do that just for a few counts and take a few breaths. You may find too when you're working points that really need attention, those points are extra tender. That doesn't mean you shouldn't touch them. It means you want to touch them judiciously and gently, but it means they need attention. So keep that in mind too if you're finding, oh, this is uncomfortable. It's because it probably needs you there. So it's a very simple, very gentle press. You just do it for a few heartbeats, do it for a few breaths in and out. So you feel comfortable, and let go. And you can repeat these points. You can't over Shiatsu yourself. So you can repeat these points a few times. And then just sort of see how your headache feels, see how your face feels. Also with sinus issues, you might also, it's very common, you might find that your sinus pain is moving around your face as you're working on your face. It's extremely common. You can sometimes feel headaches shifting around under your fascia. Don't be alarmed by that. It's pretty much the headache's trying to get out. The toxins are trying to release. So just, again, be gentle with yourself and don't get scared if you feel things moving around. That's a good thing. The next position that's actually very, very nice for any facial issues is just a really slow massage of your eyebrows from the inside to the outside. I will tell you that this feels so much better when someone else does it for you. But you certainly can do it for yourself. We hold a tremendous amount of stress in our forehead up here and in all this fascia up here, and we sort of don't realize it. So when you give it a really nice, gentle squeeze, it feels amazing. It feels very, very nice. The next spot is stomach 1. And even though this is a stomach point, it starts behind the eyeballs. So we want to address it because it is on our face, and if we're having facial pain or sinus issues, we want to physically touch that area. So stomach 1, since we can't go into our eyes, you want to do just light pressure right under the socket. You can just sort of move your finger around and see how tender it feels. And if it feels tender, you've probably got the right spot. Just real light pressure again. Again, just for a few breaths. And then move down to stomach 3, which is directly under the cheekbone. So you want to move straight down and hook up and under. This is often quite uncomfortable for most people when I do this. And I'm not pressing, of course, I'm not pressing hard, but it can be very uncomfortable, especially if you have sinus issues like I do. And then finally, you want to sort of slide up a little bit and go to, it's large intestine. It's large intestine 20, which is right at the base of the nose, and you'll have trouble breathing if you're doing it right. That's how you know you're doing it right. Right here. You want to just press straight in, down and in. So if you can still breathe out of your nose, you're probably missing the spot. You should have to breathe out of your mouth. And then just sort of take a break. See how your face feels. If it's a headache, see if the headache is shifting or moving. If it's sinus pressure, see if the pressure has abated at all. See where the pressure is. And also, feel free, when you're on your own face especially, feel free to sort of very gently feel around your face for what feels good. And give yourself the permission to like rub your temples or do sort of light pressure, even if it's not a specific Shiatsu point. If it feels good, it's probably a good idea. So we tend to sort of forget to be gentle with ourselves, especially when we go, maybe we go to the doctor and we get a lot of warnings about you need to be careful about this and that's all perfectly valid, but we sort of forget that we have a lot of power in our own hands and that our bodies are these amazing healing machines that can do so much more than we sometimes give them credit for. So do take some time to just sort of, massage your face if it feels good, and then go back to the points. And then reassess and see how that's worked for you. Some of the, there's some really powerful sinus and headache spots on our hands as well, of all things. The first spot I want to talk to you about is large intestine 1, which is actually the tip of the index finger, and this is fabulous for sore throats. The large intestine and the small intestine, while they are related to the organs, they actually do a lot of other things in our body in the Shiatsu protocol. So if it seems strange that you're addressing a sore throat by pressing the large intestine meridian, that's okay. It's based on traditional Chinese medicine, so unless you start studying that, it might not make complete sense. So this is a great sore throat point, right at the tip of the index finger. Another really, can you see that? Another really great point, and this is something that has definitely gained some popularity in popular culture. People who know nothing about Shiatsu and nothing about energy work have actually heard of this point. This is large intestine 4, and it's where you want to pinch this sort of webbing between your index finger and your thumb. And you want to sort of work down into that webbing and just give it a little bit of pressure. This is often extremely tender, so don't zoom in like a shark. You're going to hurt yourself and it's going to be painful. Just sort of gently move in, give it a rub, and then if you can just do some light, steady pressure. It doesn't have to be hard. It's better to do gentle and steady than like really, really hard and then for 4 seconds. Just try gentle. Everything is gentle and steady in Shiatsu. Take a few breaths. Let some of that strain, and then don't forget to do the other side. Again, this is a point that feels absolutely luxurious if you can get someone else to do it for you, because it's just nice to kind of close your eyes and just feel this draining away. One word of caution: if you are pregnant, you do not want to do this because this actually changes your blood flow pattern in your body. So pregnant ladies or those who think they may be pregnant are going to want to avoid this point. It's actually it's that strong and powerful. So please do avoid this if you are expecting. But this is a lovely point, and this is something that, for some reason, I guess because it's an easy one, you'll see like on The View or Oprah, they'll talk about this this headache point. And that's what it is, large intestine 4. If you're experiencing kind of a cough, like a scratchy throat, kind of a hacky cough, you can go up your arm to the lung point. It's lung 5, and it is the crook of your elbow. Your lung is affiliated with your thumb. So you want to go up to the crook, and you want to sort of hang on the outside of your arm and just do a steady pressure. And that's great for hacky coughs, dry, raspy throats, that sort of thing. And same thing, take an opportunity to go on the other side and do the other side as well. This is lung 5. We're going to move up the arm. This is the yin point, so we're moving this way because in traditional Chinese medicine, anatomical position is arms up. So the meridians are flowing up, so even though our arms are down, we're flowing up. So we're going to go from 5 to fish belly, lung 10. This is fish belly. This is great also for sore throats. There's a meaty part of your thumb right here, and what you want to do is just sort of go in and hook that meaty part of your thumb, which is called fish belly in Shiatsu circles. And just give that some attention. Right in here. You can massage it, and put some steady pressure on it. That has a really nice effect for scratchy throats. And again, just going to take a few breaths, and then come back to it if you need to. Take a few breaths, come back to it if you need to. You don't want to rush. You want to be gentle. Okay. Now we're going to talk about some stomach issues, which again, it just seems like there's so much stuff on the market. Constipation and indigestion and this and that. There's just people are suffering so badly with stomach issues because that tends to be where we really get hit when we're stressed or nervous or upset. It really tends to hit us there. So we're going to start up with a stomach meridian because that makes sense. We're going to go back to the face, one of the same meridians we used to do some sinus work. We're going to look at stomach 1 again. With that spot right under the eyes, sort of right on your, kind of feel the edge of your socket, right there. And then that next spot, which is where you're going to drop down and then hook back up, right under the cheekbones. This is the spot I said everybody finds this a little uncomfortable. This is not a normal spot to find your fingers. And these are the very beginnings of the stomach meridian that actually runs down through the middle of the body, down the legs, and then it comes to the outside of the leg a little bit and goes down through the second toe. It's full. So you're starting at the very beginning of a very, very long, very full meridian. The second spot I want to address dealing with stomach issues is the hara. The hara is the seat of our constitutional energy. It is the physical center of gravity. According to Chinese medicine, the hara is what lets us stand straight, upright, facing the world with confidence, with assurance. When our hara is weak, we feel it. We tend to walk like this. We tend to kind of hunch a little bit. For those of you who are familiar with the chakra system, you know this is the solar plexus chakra. This is chakra 3, associated with the mantra and yellow, the color yellow, and that's another webinar. But we won't go too far into that. But this is the space where we get our personal power. This is our personal power center. So of course, if our stomach, or if we're feeling unwell and has to do with stomach issues, of course we want to address what is essentially our power center. So something that's very simple to do, and this is lovely because you can do this with senior citizens, with babies, people of all ages. It's completely non-invasive. You just want to do, it's clockwise if you're looking at yourself. So think about you're looking at your own stomach, and you want to just do a clockwise rub, and you're going around your belly button. And it is incredibly relaxing. It's incredibly calming to the nervous system. It is actually following the lay of your intestines. So when you do this, it is helping along the peristaltic movement of the waste that's trying to get through your intestines while the nutrients are being drawn out. So this is it's very simple, but it's incredibly beneficial and incredibly helpful. Very gentle, feels great. If you're having stomach cramps of any kind, it's really, really lovely. And again, you can do it on babies, you can do it on older adults. Kids can do it on themselves. It's kind of fun. It's just a good all-around way to sort of get your stomach calm. Stomach 34, if you're having a lot of acute stomach trouble, say you have like chronic diarrhea, you've got IBS issues, anything along those lines, you want to go, to your kneecap, go right above it, right above the center of your kneecap. This is stomach 34. And you want to just give that some attention. Just some easy, gentle, steady pressure right there. And just to keep yourself balanced, don't forget to go to the other side. And you may find that one side is a little bit tender and the other side isn't. That's fine. And again, it needs some attention. But this is a really, really nice stomach spot. And this is intimately connected with stomach 36. Stomach 36 is one of the most famous Shiatsu points. It's like the first one we all learn when we go to school. It's called leg 3 miles. The story goes that many, many years ago, one of the emperors had his army marching. They were marching day and night without stop, and they were able to march for over 1 month straight without stopping for sleep, as long as they stopped every 3 miles and massaged stomach 36. It gave them that much power and that much energy. Stomach 36, let's see if I can demonstrate this for you. How am I in?
From your ankle up, isn't it?
Okay, stomach 36, you want to go down your knee and run right to the side. So down the knee, right to the side. You're almost at the head of your fibula. You kind of just get on your leg. Down and over. If you feel like you can't necessarily find it, you can also just take the flat of your palm. If you feel like you're not getting that point or you're not sure, and just do a really gentle rub down that piece of your leg. I had a colleague once who came to me and she said, I am completely nauseated. I don't even think I can make it to the restroom. I don't know what to do. And she was absolutely green. She sat down in my office space. She was green. And she was like, I said, what happened? And she was like, I ate a granola bar and I feel absolutely nauseated. I don't know what to do. And I said, can I touch your legs? I knelt down and I worked stomach 36 on both sides of her legs. And she got her color back in about a minute. And she's like, I have no idea what you're doing, but it's working. The idea is that it helps revolting chi. When chi is revolting, it means it's coming up and out, and that is not a normal movement for chi. When we put food in, we want it to go in and go down. So this helps bring your energy back into balance. Because the stomach meridian goes down, when we stroke it down, we're helping that meridian follow the law of gravity and move down. She was not a believer. She thought a lot of this stuff was a little hinky, and she got up out of my office a believer. She couldn't believe how much better she felt, and it took about 5 minutes, and she never did get sick. She just went back to her desk, and she was fine. You've got to remember too that when you come into imbalance, it didn't take you 10 minutes to get there. It probably took you a couple years, if not a couple decades. So you also want to be gentle with your body when you're doing these as well. It doesn't always work in 5 minutes. It's nice when it does. Most of my clients spend an hour and they do get up feeling better. But again, be gentle with your body. Give yourself some time to heal. But as long as you've got that knowledge that I really can help myself, I think that's incredibly valuable. And just a small note: stomach and spleen often work together. So if you're thinking about that, consider too that all of the points that we're working have a partner point that if you were in a session, we would be working as well. So again, these are just little tips and hints and tricks that you can do. But if you came in for a sort of a session, We would work a stomach meridian, and then we would work a spleen meridian, which, because it's the stomach's partner, is yang and comes up the body. So it's all about balance in Shiatsu. It's all about finding that middle spot and letting your body move from that middle spot, from that middle area where things are much more equitable. Everyone is stressed from everything, from the kids to the new dog to the job to the paper that's due. Everyone is stressed. Huge complaint, I would say 100% of people that I see come to me, and even if they have a very specific physical complaint, they will always tack on to whatever issue that they're experiencing, and I feel really stressed. Because I'll say, how are you feeling in general? I feel a lot of stress. So usually when you finally find me, kind of not in a great space, which is fine, but people will come and say, I've done everything else and I'm really stressed, how can you help me? So these are also some ways of just to kind of bring you down to just a more relaxed kind of equilibrium. The first is pericardium points, which are very, very powerful. Pericardium is considered the meridian that sort of protects the heart. It protects us from hurts. It brings us great joy. It lets us initiate and engage great sorrow, sort of with grace and dignity. Pericardium is a very important point, very important meridian in the body. And this is the one I was telling you, those young ladies in class were pressing before the test. They were using all the pericardium points in their hands and their arms. So pericardium 6 is 4 finger widths below the wrist, right in the center of your arm. So this is pericardium 6. So if you're feeling stressed, this is just a tiny little protocol you can do for yourself. This is a tiny little series that you can do for yourself. So you want to start here with gentle pressure. You want to move up to pericardium 7, which is at the wrist. Give it a few beats. Give it a breath. In and out. Move to pericardium 8. This is one of the most powerful points. This and the wrist point. These are two of the most powerful points on the hands. And then move out to 9, the tip of 9. This actually releases heat, and the reason this is a really great point is that when people get really stressed, especially before a big event or a test or whatever, it doesn't have to be a test, obviously. If you're just really upset and worried about something, some people their blood pressure goes up, and they start to sweat, and they start to get hot, and they start to get really sort of anxious and agitated. This is a heat release point. So it just sort of goes along with the idea that you are letting it go. The heat is dissipating. Okay, I can think straight. All right, I know I have to do this thing for my boss. It's going to be okay. Just let me take a breath and I can get to it. Okay, so just consider, you can start up on your arm, move to your wrist, move to your palm, and move out to the end of your finger. It's a really easy, short sequence to remember. Another point for anxiety, also in this area, is it's heart 7, and it's where your forearm meets your wrist. And this is a sedation point for anxiety. Heart starts in the pinky, so you're on the inside of your wrist. Can you see that? So pericardium was here in the middle, and we're just going to slide out here for heart, right next to it, sort of right under that little bone right there. It's a good anxiety point. This is a great point for folks who have panic attacks. I had shared this with a gentleman on a plane. He was really anxious. I want to get off the plane. We had probably a good 3 hours left to the flight, which is hard, of course. That's very hard. He was like, I don't have my meds. And I said, it's okay, take a breath. We'll take care of it. And then we can bring it down. Just a nice point. And if you can't remember sort of what's going on around, it's something on my wrist, I'm stressed, just ring your wrist. You'll get all of the points. You get heart, pericardium, lung, small intestine, triple heat, or large intestine. It doesn't matter because, again, you can't over-shiatsu yourself. So if you get confused, just ring your wrist. You'll be hitting all of them. Remember to do the other one as well. And with a little practice, you'll get to know your body much better as well. That's the other thing. A lot of people don't have a lot of practice, pressing points on their own body, but with some practice, you'll get more comfortable, and you'll get to know where the points are tender, and you'll get to know when they need to be addressed and when they need to be engaged. You'll get a much better body sense getting to know your body more closely by doing this as well. And again, if you have kids, a partner, a spouse, someone who wants to do this for you, it feels lovely to have someone pressing, especially your hands, because we have so many nerve endings in our palms, and it's a place that pretty much everyone tends to ignore. If you could have someone who can just rub your palms, that feels absolutely fabulous. You can also ask your massage therapist to do that too. So sleep. So much out there on sleep, sleep deprivation, sleep therapy. Now you can take a product that used to be a little thing, used to be cold medicine, and now you can take it because it'll just knock you out for sleep. Sometimes people need pharmaceuticals. This is not a dig against pharmaceuticals. My issue, though, is that a lot of that over-the-counter stuff, again, is full of ingredients you really just don't want to put in your body. There's just no need to put artificial red coloring and high fructose corn syrup in your body. That's not going to help you sleep. That's contraindicated. Anything with that level of fructose is actually waking your body up. So why not try something that you can do yourself for free first? That's my thinking. So again, we're going to go back to part 7. This is, remember this was the anxiety point. It's where your forearm meets your wrist. This is also an insomnia point. So it makes sense that it brings anxiety down because it's also an insomnia point. If you're lying in bed, a little tossy-turny, take a breath and try these wrist points. Again, you may find that they're a little bit tender. That's okay. Take a few breaths. And let some of the stress drain out. And one final thing I want to share related to sleep are foot strokes. Foot strokes are so simple and so easy. They are, again, something that can be used with babies, children, teenagers can do it to themselves, anybody of any age who has just a little bit of flexibility who can get to their foot can do a foot stroke. A reflexive foot stroke means you are doing one full stroke. You're going up the foot and down the foot against the sole of the foot. So up and down is one. You want to do it on bare feet. It's best if you're doing skin on skin. You're going to go up, down, that's 1, that's 2. It feels really, really wonderful, and it is incredibly effective. I was actually teaching a group of nurses who were desperately looking for different ways they could help their patients get to sleep at night. Now the trick was these nurses were working in gerontology, and a lot of their senior patients had Alzheimer's, dementia, and nighttime made them incredibly fearful. They would get ratcheted up when it was time for bed. They didn't know where they were. I mean, it was just painful to hear about, and these nurses were desperately trying to find ways that they could work with this fragile population without sedating them. They didn't want to do that. A lot of these folks are already on medication. You don't want to add a sedative on top of that. So we talked about it, and they actually were very interested in Shiatsu because they found that a lot of the stuff, because it feels good and it's so non-invasive, it was perfect for senior citizens. And this was one of the best things. They actually got back in touch with me and said, these people love having their feet stroked. It feels amazing. They calm right down, and then we can actually get them put to bed. So it's really just remarkable, sort of what your body does. The idea behind the foot strokes, I won't go into the technicalities of it, but the idea is that you're turning a bunch of nerve endings on when you go up, and you're turning them back off when you go down, and that's the quick and dirty explanation. So it's going on, off, and 83 is the magic number. It somehow calms and sort of lets the system kind of calm down and come to sort of a place of peace. So, again, something you can use with babies, teenagers, sort of anything. So I know I've been plugging Shiatsu this whole time, but it really is remarkable because you can do so much with it. and it's so gentle, and it feels good. How many things can you say that? You know, how many things feel great, don't invade your body, and also work? Pretty powerful. Can help you find a sense of inner peace. It's great for folks who want to learn how to meditate but are nowhere near able to meditate because your mind is really busy. This is a great sort of preface to that. Start doing a little bit of Shiatsu, and it necessarily calms your mind down because it's also working on all kinds of energetic levels in your body. It's great for transitions in your life. It's great for any kind of stress, any kind of drama. Because it's not invasive, because you're not actually ingesting anything. It is fabulous in conjunction with other treatments. It's great if you're taking medication. I use Shiatsu on my mom. She is on a list of medications for diabetes and blood pressure. This calms her down. It makes her feel better. It just helps. It just helps in general. It helps to accelerate healing. It's great for the mind. It just has a whole host of things. It's good for pets. Some of the points are different if you want to do this with a pet or with an animal. I would recommend you choose a really good Shiatsu book on pet acupressure. It does work. I used Shiatsu acupressure on my kitty who was going through kidney failure, and it really increased her quality of life, along with other things as well. She was getting other treatment, but it's just an amazing addition to sort of anything else you may be using or going through in your life, and you may eventually find, I have had some clients who, with medical permission, have eventually come off their medication. So that's always encouraging. I think one thing I'd like you to leave with today is that energy work is amazing, and it actually does touch your spirit because it works on so many different levels, and it is so incredibly powerful. I recommend you go out there and read more about it if you're interested in it. There's lots of stuff out there. Be sure you're reading something from someone reputable. That's all I'll ask. Use your information literacy skills. Be sure you're reading something from someone who knows what they're talking about, who's had a little bit of training. That's one caveat, I would say. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to email me. I am at wellness@sevensacredbreaths.com. We'd be happy to talk to you. I would be happy to answer questions. If you would like a printout of some of the points that we went over today, so that you can remember that for yourself, not a problem. Just drop me an email. I'd be happy to share those with you so you have a little cheat sheet you can keep on your bed nightstand. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know there's going to be a drawing at some point. All you lucky folks who registered will be in a drawing for my book, which is a book about Reiki. It's called Water Charms, Ocean Reiki Meditations. And if you're more interested in this, you can also learn about this on my website or Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever you like to buy books. But thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate your attention, and let me know if I can help in any way.
All right, thank you, Sylvia. So we do have just a couple minutes, so if you have any questions that you want to ask now, if that's okay with you,
That'd be great.
we can try to address those. I do see there's one question left that somebody had posted. If you're not familiar with the software, there should be a box there that says questions. You can type your questions in there and send those, and then we will just go down the list in the order they come in. So the question that we have so far is someone has asked about the some of the face pressure points. That they give a slight bit of nausea, and they wonder if that's common.
That's actually incredibly common. Anything that triggers a response in your body, like nausea, tenderness, discomfort. There's a difference between discomfort and pain, and you have to know the difference. We're not trying to cause any pain. So if you're pressing on any pressure points and you're getting a sharp pain, you want to stop. I would say, and this depends on each individual, if you're getting tenderness or even nausea, probably means that point needs some attention. So you'll want to work with it very gently. You don't want to get yourself to the point where you're vomiting. You don't want to get yourself to the point where you're sort of forcing it. If you're nauseated by pressing on that point for 5 or 6 seconds, then try pressing on it for 2 or 3 seconds. Take a breath. Try 2 or 3 seconds. Take a breath. You know, sort of make it more intermittent, make it gentle, and just sort of work with yourself and see how that works. And you should come to a point in time where the nausea is no longer. And you also should come to a point in time, I hate to say should, but you also may come to a point in time where the tenderness is gone too, because you are addressing the issue that's going on. So you will get to a place where you can do a lot of different things, and you're like, that feels good, but I don't feel tender, I don't feel like I'm overworking it, I don't feel like it necessarily hurts in that way anymore, and that's a good sign. So I would say proceed gently, but still proceed. Yeah.
Thank you. Our next question, how long should you hold each point for, and about for how many times for each point?
That really depends too. It depends on how badly it hurts, sort of almost contradictory. If it's really, if it's something, again, pain, we don't want any pain, but if it's something that's a little bit tender, you probably want to hold it a few more times than if it's less tender, because that means it needs attention. So I would say hold each point for the space of a few breaths, however that's comfortable for you. Maybe count out 3 breaths, 3 deep breaths, 5 deep breaths, take a break, do an assessment. Okay, my head is still pounding. All right, I'm going to go back. Go again, and maybe try like cycles of 3. Try cycles of 3. See how it feels. Maybe give it a rest for half an hour. Come back to it. If I were doing this in my office with a client, these points get passed over probably 6, 7, or 10 times, depending on how that person presented to me. So if someone came in and they said they had this raging issue with their sinuses, we would spend, out of an hour, we'd probably spend a good half hour or 40 minutes working the sinus issues. So again, I don't want you to feel like you can sort of overdo it. I don't want you to feel any fear around it, really, in any way, shape, or form. Just sort of proceed gently, try a few breaths, relax, try a few breaths. I have had clients say, you know, can you stop that? We're done. We're done with my arm. And I'm like, okay, we'll move on. If you get to a point where you're like, ugh, stop. Stop and start it again a half an hour later or a few hours later. Just sort of keep coming back to it and see how it feels every time you come back to it. And you may start to notice a really quantifiable difference. And that's really exciting when you get to that spot.
Great. So our next question is, when doing the knee techniques, should this be done seated, standing, or lying down?
I would say don't do it standing up. I just did it standing up so you all could see me. Get comfortable. Get comfortable when you're doing your leg work. Go ahead. I don't know if y'all can see me, but you just want to sit, especially if you're working stomach 36, which is that point we looked at on the side of the leg. Get comfortable, sit down. And if you have the flex, again, you have to make sure you have the flexibility and the ability to do this. Like my mother couldn't do this. This would be difficult for her. If you are able, you just want to go and do a nice rub. I'm just sitting, doing this, but I'm sitting as I'm doing it. And I'm doing both sides at the same time, so it's really easy to do, and it's really comfortable. You can do this. When I did this for my colleague, she was sitting in front of me, and I was kneeling, and I was working on her legs, sort of kneeling, doing this. So get as comfortable as you care to as you're working on this. Don't feel like you have to stand and kind of balance yourself like your Cirque du Soleil. Not needed. Definitely get comfortable.
Great. I think we have time for one more question.
Okay.
So this person has asked that their dog gets very anxious during thunderstorms and wondered if you thought that Shiatsu would help.
I definitely think Shiatsu would help. I would also, I'm not trying to plug any products, but if you've not tried the Thunder Jacket, I would try Thunder Jacket, Thundercoat, Thunder Jacket. And I would also recommend flower essences. And if you want to learn more about that, you're welcome to come. You don't have to use my services, but if you want to learn more about that, you can come to my website and read about what flower essences can do for pets and things. But yeah, animals react really strongly to energy work because they're so attuned to it. And they don't have all of the sort of like social pressures to not believe. They've got, all those barriers are gone. When you do Reiki on an animal, when you do Shiatsu, or when you do reflexology, you see stuff immediately. They like it or they don't. They respond. Or it's really, really fascinating. For those of you who are interested, this is kind of a plug, excuse me for doing this. I am doing a workshop this Sunday on animal Reiki, and you can learn more about that at my website too, for those of you who are interested in that.
Great.
Came up.
Well, thank you again, Sylvia. Before you go, I do want to announce the winner. I just used a random number generator and put everybody on a list to get this. The winner of our drawing for Sylvia's book will be Carrie creamy.
Yay.
Yay! So Carrie, if you just want to send me your email address and we can talk about how we're going to get you the book, that'd be great. Thank you everyone for attending. If you have any questions for Sylvia, feel free to drop her a line, send her an email, or go to her website. If you have any questions about this or future webinars, feel free to email us at adultstudentlife@sju.edu. Thank you everybody for attending. We hope to see you next time.